Welcome back to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at The Son of Neptune, Chapter 3. Now, this chapter, unlike the other book, which it changed every 2 chapters from Jason to Leo to Piper, this is the 3rd chapter, and it's still Percy Jackson. So I'm not sure if the rest of the chapters are going to be his story or how that's going to look. But so far, we're still viewing the story from Percy's perspective. So Reyna starts to take him to interrogation to get some information out of him. As Percy is walking through the town, there's all sorts of ghosts everywhere. Luckily, Percy's not afraid of ghosts, but it's really weird to see these different peoples walking around. Like, I think they say like half of the people in the city or in the town or in the camp are not people, they're ghosts. And that's pretty crazy. But as Percy's walking, the ghosts are looking at him, and he doesn't know why they're looking at him. And finally one calls him gracious or something, and then they runs away. Runs away. There it is. Which this means Greek. That's all it means is Greek. And Percy's kind of asking, like, why are these ghosts looking at me? Like, they're not really looking at other people. Other people aren't interacting with the ghosts. What's so special about me? And then one of the people that's with him, he says, I don't know. What they're saying is the word Greek. So maybe they think you're a Greek. You kind of have that look like you're a Greek. Maybe has like soft skin or chubby cheeks. You know, something that looks a little comfy or soft. Not like the Romans. The Romans are hard and strong and cut. So he's like, oh, maybe that's what they think. Or, you know, sometimes we use that word as a bad word. Like, we'll call someone, oh, you gracious. And that means like, you terrible person, or you idiot, or you stupid person. It's like, oh, maybe they're calling you that. We don't really know. Well, we know that Percy is actually Greek, and so something's going on there. Well, they go through the town, and the town is pretty impressive, but they finally get to this huge building. It's called the Principia, and this is where the praetors, I guess, command or live or rule from. And so as they're going there, Reyna sends one of the guards away, and then the other guard kind of follows. And so when they get inside this building, there's 2 huge dogs on the sides. And as Percy's walking through, those dogs become like alive. They look like statues at first, but then they're like growling at Percy, and he's like, whoa! And Reyna's like, don't worry, they won't attack unless I tell them, or you start lying. And then she starts to get into the interrogation. So Percy's kind of feeling like, as he's talking to Reyna, he's like, you know me. We've met before. And she's like, maybe. But why don't you tell me your story? And so Percy just talks about his story. I woke up in this house area. There was this wolf. This wolf trained me. And then this wolf sent me on this quest and says I might live and get my memories back if I survive. And he's just telling the story. And Reyna's like, well, okay, that's normal. All that is normal. Except for people usually don't lose their memories. And then she continues, and she says, like, well, look at your arm. There's no tattoos on Percy's arm, but Reyna has a tattoo. The other girl has a tattoo, and all the other soldiers, they have that tattoo, Roman legion soldier tattoo, and it can't be removed. Percy doesn't have one. And this is really weird because they all do. And so this kind of shows something different. Let's see, other strange events that happened. I can't recall. So we'll move on to the next bit, which is, they start talking about there's 2 chairs and one of them is missing. And we know that it's Jason who is the missing one, and Reyna and Jason must have been the co-leaders of this camp or this town, but they don't know where he is, and they haven't filled his spot yet because they still hope that he's alive. And there's only 2 ways to fill that seat. One, someone does something amazing and the whole army lifts them on their shoulder and they start celebrating and saying, whoa, this guy's a hero, this guy's a champion, he will be our leader. The other way is by voting, which voting happens on the Feast of Fortuna. And the Feast of Fortuna, or the Feast of Fortune, is a kind of a celebration to the goddess of fortune, and hopefully she will give the camp good luck for the rest of the year. But Percy remembers that the Gorgons were talking about the Feast of Fortune and Gaia waking up and bringing destruction to the camp, I guess, during that feast. And so he kind of starts talking about that and sharing that. And Reyna's like, shh, don't say anything. Don't tell anyone about that outside of this group, because I don't want to spread panic. And so we can get this sense that over the next few days, Percy is going to have to prove himself or do something, because during that feast, there's going to be a huge battle. And if we remember from the first book, they were talking about sharing leaders. So Jason would go to the Greek camp and lead them, Roman leading the Greeks, and we can guess Percy, who was the leader of Camp Half-Blood. Percy, who was the leader of Camp Half-Blood, is probably in the gods' plans going over to this Roman camp to lead them, right? And so they're switching places. And during the Feast of Fortune is when they're going to choose the next praetor, or when hopefully Percy does something amazing and they all raise him on his shield. So we can kind of guess these pieces. Who knows if it will work out, but that is something that the book is kind of building towards, this feast and this huge battle, and hopefully Percy will do something great to become one of the leaders, right? But we'll find out. After Reyna has that discussion, she says, you know what? It doesn't even matter. Go to the auguries and see if you're even worth keeping alive. Because if they say that you're not part of our history, you're dead. And if you survive, then I will tell you what I know about you. And Percy leaves to go see these auguries. Some vocabulary. First one, entourage. Entourage is like a group of followers that go around with you. In this case, there's Reyna, there's the 2 guards, and there's Percy, right? And they're walking through the city. But other people are following and seeing, oh, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? And they call this like their entourage. And Reyna turns around and is like, get back to work. And they all go away. A lot of times, like rappers, or they'll have like an entourage. They'll have some friends that are always hanging out with them. They don't really do anything. Maybe they're bodyguards, or maybe they're just really good buddies, but they are called the entourage of that one rapper. So as he walks around, he always has people around him supporting him. Inconspicuous. I think Percy was trying to be inconspicuous, but that means not seen well or not seen easily. If you look at your desk or your living room, maybe you have a remote control or a pencil. You probably don't really notice it. There's just things all around. They are inconspicuous, not seen or noticed easily. And that's how Percy wishes he could do. Embroidered. Oh, I didn't get a picture for this. Sorry about that. Embroider is so imagine here's my sweater. Embroider would be if someone took some thread and maybe they wrote my name on my sweater, or maybe they wrote something else like wonderful dad, whatever. But they used some thread to make a word or a name or a special decoration already in like a blanket or a sweater, usually like a knit, but it doesn't have to be. And maybe something was embroidered in the city. An amnesiac, this is someone who has amnesia. Amnesia is when you can't remember your past. So that happens sometimes when people boom hit their heads. They just lose their history. They still remember a lot of things like how to cook eggs or how to play the piano, but they can't remember who their parents were. They can't remember if they were married. They can't remember their own name. This is someone that is an amnesiac who has no memory. And Piercy is an amnesiac. Grimaced, that's to like make a like sour face, like or it could be like Argh! All right, there's different ways you can grimace. You can grimace at someone, or you can grimace from like a smell, but it's kind of this disgusted or angry face. And Reina, I believe, grimaces for some reason. Well, discussion question. I was just reading through this chapter, and it was pretty hard for me to think of a good discussion question. But finally, the one I thought was, when Piercy is talking to Reina, she's like, well, what do you remember? And he doesn't really remember anything, that's true. And he says, just the bits and pieces. But there's one thing he remembers, and that is Annabeth's face. Her blonde hair, her white skin, and her kisses. Which is like, oh, she must have kissed me a lot, because there's something about that he remembers. He says, she always kissed me when I was doing something stupid. And Piercy said, oh, she must have given me a lot of kisses then, because he imagines that he did a lot of stupid things. But there's this one memory that was so powerful in his mind, he just couldn't forget it. We've talked about memory before, like which memory would you like to keep? But try to think about your past, okay? What has happened in your past? Out of all of that stuff, what is the memory that you could never forget? All right? Maybe, before we talked about maybe which is the memory you wouldn't want to forget. Like, I'd want to remember this time with my mom or dad. Okay, maybe that happened. Or maybe that's your desire. But out of all your memories, which one do you think would be stuck inside your brain? Maybe it's a good one, maybe it's a bad one. I don't know, but it's the one memory that you just can't ever get rid of. It's always there. There are a few embarrassing situations in my life that I can think of that I just can't forget. Why did that happen? I want to forget it, but it won't go away. How about you? Is there a memory that you think that you would like to forget, or that you would like to treasure, but you think even if you had amnesia, this memory, you would never forget it? And of course, please make your own discussion question, so that way we can talk about the way that you were reading the chapter and different things you thought about while you were reading it. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hey, if you have any questions about the video today, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. If you had any other vocabulary words that you wanted to know what they meant, let me know. And also, if you're interested in maybe joining one of these book clubs, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.